Hi, folks. Um, at the end of the first week, I just want to go over some of the procedures that we engaged in and gives you guys a thumbs up because most of you are doing fine. And then I'd like to kind of check in with some people and make sure that they're clear and they understand what's going to happen for the rest of the semester and um, after the first week, I think we'll get right down to work. So, um, got some graphics here. This is not quite as glitzy as the halftime at the football game, but this is going to be our first week in review. Um, Many of you, as I said, spot on, very good. Keep it up. If you've got good grades and you've been reading the comments, you probably figured out that, by now you're doing the right thing. If some of the comments were suggesting that you put a word count or something, that's what I'm trying to get into. Now, I would like to thank a couple of you folks who spotted some glitches. Sometimes Canvas almost has a life of its own. And I'll put a due date in there of 6 a.m. and it will default to the due date of 11:59 p.m. So if you spot glitches, if there's something like a submission bracket that's closed and it needs to be opened, let me know about that. So here's a little bit of a self-check, and if you find that you've been doing things right, this is time to give yourselves a pat on the back. And it's also time, if you haven't been doing everything right, this is the time to kind of learn what's going on. So, time management, we have confessed this in our discussions. Sometimes we are human and we procrastinate. Understandably, this is a trait that many students have trouble with. Um, Keep working on it. And so far, I haven't been docking points for late submissions, but starting this week, you're going to be losing some points if you're turning in late. Now, typically, uh, my assignments are going to be due at 6 a.m. That's not because I want you to get up at midnight and work from then. Instead of putting down midnight for the day before, there are people who work late shifts. I've seen them. They come in at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't want them to be late because they're at 1 or 2. So there's other people that like to work early in the morning when it's quiet because they have a house to themselves. Um, that's fine, for those people. But 6 a.m., unless otherwise noted, is going to be when I expect your papers in. Then I will be posting your new assignment on that day, and I'll try and have all your assignments graded and comments made on that day as well. Um, if you don't know how to do a word count, okay, uh, this class is going to be easier on you if you have Microsoft Word. And as a person in college, you can get a Microsoft Word free Office suite, and you can use that little tool called word count. And just put that when you're doing a written submission, just go ahead and put that number of words at the tail end of it. Along with this somewhat obscure, some of you didn't really read your syllabus quite as closely as you should have. The syllabus has an example of what a statement of authenticity is. So if I was making a statement of authenticity for this video, I would write something very similar to, this is the original video produced by Mr. Gross on such and such a day, and it doesn't rely on any copy, any pasting. This is all my original work. Oh, you can shorten that down. That's a statement of authenticity. Now, I want you guys to check your notebooks. Every once in a while, I will ask you to submit pictures of your notebook, and I don't want you scrambling at the very last minute trying to make your notebook coming up to date. Number one is your study log, and that's probably on your first page or two, and it's going to chart how many hours you have studied on what day and what the topic is. Number two are handwritten double entry journal notes. And I'd like you to use white space to separate ideas and thoughts. I'd like you to use the left-hand column for questions and comments, and the right-hand column for taking your regular notes, but use white space in between. And number three has to do with your terminology, your art terms. So if you guys have a notebook started and you're doing the 1, 2, and the 3, time to pat yourself on the back. Good job. Most of the assignments, especially the longer written ones, I will respond to. Occasionally, it might be just as short as an emoji. Thumbs up, you got it right. Usually, I will pick on 1 or 2 points that you've talked about and try and go into depth or make a connection and say, have you read a book by so-and-so? That goes into it a little bit deeper and a little bit further. So if I take the time to make a comment, I would really appreciate you taking the time to read the comments and the feedback. Someplace in our first week, I've asked you to go to the discussions panel, and there's a section in there, meet your class, or who's on the ride, who's on the tour of photo history or art history. And many of you have definitely done that. Pat yourself on the back. If you haven't done that yet, please go to discussions and add yourself to our class. And you can talk back and forth. That's fine. This is a big one. Some of you are emailing me, which is not a bad thing. I do keep track of my emails, but I would request that you use your Maricopa email. Don't use your Gmail or your Yahoo or whatever. Please write me using the school email. Last year they had a terrible breach of security, and they said, please, 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 every instructor, ask your students for that using the email from the district. And the last thing is, I'd like to inject a little bit of humor into the announcements. And so I'll probably start with the joke of the day. If you have heard any good, clean, non-offensive jokes, send them to me, and then I will use them on one of the announcements. So this class has opportunities and openings for humor, and we don't have to be academically nose to the grindstone, study all of the time. We have time for some fun too. So if you got a joke, pass it on. And that's our first week in review for everybody. And we'll try and tighten things up a little bit and dive deeper into our respective subject matters. So, adios for now.